Hi, everybody. We have a new section we're going to deal with, which is percents. This is section D of Algebra 1 of IXL. And the first section is converting between percents, fractions, and decimals. One of the things I want to mention at the very beginning of this is that fractions, decimals, and percents are all the same thing. They're all rational numbers, and they're just ways of writing the same thing. They're not different things. So I want to keep that in mind. We'd like to do a conversion, and we'd like to use the percent symbol. One thing I'm going to point out right away is that this percent symbol that you see right here was originally not written like this. Originally, this percent symbol was literally written like this, per 100. That's what percent means. It literally means hundredth. That's with the little TH at the end, hundredth. These are equivalent things, and we'd like an equivalent fraction. So we've got 26 over 50, and we'd like to change that to hundredths. In order to do that, you're going to multiply by 2 in the numerator and denominator, and we get 52 hundredths. By the way, if I were to read this decimal correctly, it's not read 0.52. Correctly, it's written as 52. This is the hundredths place. So this is 52 hundredths. This is 52 hundredths. And of course, this is 52%. But again, this piece was originally written as 52, and we simplified it to this. So 52%. Way too much information, I suppose. All right, I'll just move a little faster now. Now we want 0.1, but that's not how we read that. This is not read 0.1, it's read as 1/10. This is in the tenths place, and in order to change it to hundredths, we have to multiply by 10. 10, I said, and we get 10 over 100. By the way, isn't that 10 hundredths as well? Lots of ways to write it. This is 10%, of course. %, as a fraction. Well, this is 80%, which is 8/10 or 4/5. We generally always want to reduce fractions as far as possible. 19% as a decimal. Well, this is 19 hundredths. There it is. %, as a decimal. It's 55 hundredths, but we can write that as 55 hundredths. Kind of obvious. Apparently we didn't need the 0 with our decimal there. 25% as a fraction. Well, one other thing I want to mention is that 25% was simplified even further. But remember, originally it was written like this, 25 per 100. And then we simplified it to this in the 1400s because of the advent of printing presses. And we simplified this even further to make it faster for people to write it. And so this became this. 25 cents is 1/4. And of course, it's 25 over 100 reduced, but I like to think of it as 1/4. 680% as a decimal. Now this is 680 per 100, which means that this is written as 680 with the 0 in the hundredths place. You can think of it as moving the decimal 2 places. You can think of it as dividing by 100. They all mean the same, 6.8. Not sure if we're allowed to use this, put the 0 in or not. I'll write it without. 47 per 100, or 47 hundredths. That's how we read that decimal. So that is 47%. And we're supposed to use the percent symbol. 34/5. Okay, 34/5. In a lot of ways, it's easier to actually write this if you have it as a mixed number, which is one of the few, this is one of the few cases where I like mixed numbers. So I'm gonna go ahead and divide the 5 into 34. It goes in 6 times with a 4 remainder. And to change 4/5 to hundredths, we have to multiply by 20, the numerator and the denominator. What I do is I think of fifths as being 20 cents each. And if I have 4 of them, I have 80 cents. So we're looking at 680%. That should sound familiar. We just did that one. And I think I'm supposed to use the percent symbol. So there we have it. 10% as a decimal is 10 cents. I wonder if you're allowed to put the 0. Let's see. Yes. Wasn't sure. 325 over 50. And we want to write it as a percentage. Well, a percentage means per 100. So let's go ahead and multiply by 2. Just make it easy. That's going to be 650 hundredths. And remember, this could be written as 650 per cent. Or 6.5, if you like. 40, that's 40 cents. If I write this as a decimal with in monetary terms, that's 40 cents. Sometimes we would write this like that. But remember that this symbol right there, that cent symbol, is literally mathematically equivalent to this one. So this is 40%. %, as a fraction, mixed number, or whole number. Oh, okay, I have a choice. So 103, it is written as a fraction, actually, per 100. That's good enough. You could write it as a mixed number, but I kind of like the 103 per 100. I was thinking that was a question rather than the way they want it written. 6/10. Well, 6/10 is 6/10. If you like, that's 60 cents. Cents, or 60%, or 60 over 100. All of these things are exactly the same, so 60%. 18/20. I like 20ths, and I think of them as nickels. Just like I think of fourths as quarters, I think of 20ths as nickels. Because when you multiply by 5, you get 5 hundredths, which is 5 cents for every 20th. Since I want 18/20, I'm 2 short of $1. 2 nickels short of $1 is 90 cents. You could, if you want, multiply by 5 in the numerator and denominator, and you'd also get 90 over 100. Lots of ways of thinking about it. This is, of course, 90%. Percentage. So in this particular case, we are talking about 5.1093. We know it's 500%. Percent means divided by 100. So in order to change it to hundredths, we have to move the decimal 2 places, if you like. So 510.93%. And they didn't say to round it, so you got to put the whole thing in. Oh, almost forgot the percent. 75% is 75 cents. Hopefully you noticed right away that we're dealing with quarters here, and I have 3 quarters. Of course, if you wanted to, you could have written it as 75% and simplified. I like 3/4 just fine. 29.73% as a decimal. Of course, that percent symbol, this thing right here, means divide by 100 or move it 2 decimal places over. That is 0.2973. I don't think I need the leading 0. Again, 0.9541. Now we're almost done. 65 over 25. Okay, I like this one. 65/25. Lots of ways to go. You could multiply by 4 on the numerator denominator. We could divide it. We could also simplify it. This happens to be 13/5, which happens to be 2 3/5, which is 2.6. All of these are possibilities. We want a percent, so that's 260%. You could also multiply by a 4 in the numerator and denominator. Let's do it that way. 25. We want it per 100, so I can multiply by 4. This is 4 times 60 is 240, plus 20 more makes 260 per 100. This is a percent. That is 260%. 80%. What I'd like to do is think of the largest value of a coin. And in this particular case, normally I would think of coins as being tens, dimes. So this is 8 dimes. That's one way of thinking about it. 8/10. But that can be reduced to 4/5. Sorry, I said 4/5. The way I do this directly is I think that the biggest money I can use to make 80 cents are 20-cent pieces, and those are fifths, because I think of fifths as equivalent to 20 cents. It just makes my life easier, and I just realized that it takes 4 of them to make 80 cents. For those of you who didn't get that, you could do it this way. Do your 8/10. You could, of course, reduce 80 hundredths and reduce that to 4/5. Sorry. Divide by 20, divide by 20, and you also get your 4/5. Percentage is 195, 195.2. I said 0.2. There we go. Oh, almost forgot the percent sign. There it is. 74.3. And back to the 50ths. 36 50ths changed to hundredths. I just multiply by 2 and get 72 hundredths, which is 72%. Hmm, 10.6 is a decimal. Oh, 0.106. %25 as a fraction is 25 cents is a quarter. And decimal, move it 2 places. That is 9.2538. Remember that percent means we're dividing by 100 and making it smaller by 2 decimal places. Percentage, that's 210.2. And we're all done. I hope you all have as easy a time as I did with it. Remember, we're always looking for hundredths. Good luck.